Today's kernel goes out to Shantae, who let me know that Popcorn Finance made her Spotify top 5 list. So Shantae, thanks for listening to Popcorn Finance, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hey, this is Chris. Hope you're doing well, and welcome to Popcorn Finance, the show where we discuss finance and about the time it takes to make a bag of popcorn. On last week's episode, I was joined by Robert Farrington, and he gave out some great information regarding student loans. We were talking about what the future looks like as we approach 2021, and then also what's going on with the current student loan deferral situation. And there was actually an update from the Department of Education late last week. And the good news is that the deferral on student loans has been extended now out until January 31st, 2021. So it's being pushed out from December 31st, 2020. So it gives you a whole extra month where you don't have to make payments, and also your loans are not accruing any interest. So hopefully this will provide some much needed relief to people who are dreading the return of these payments in the new year, because so many people are still suffering from the effects of the pandemic. Today, I wanted to continue our discussion on student loans. So many of you wrote in and sent me a ton of questions that you had about your student loans, and Robert was kind enough to give me some more time to go over these questions. So over the next roughly 1 or 2 weeks, I'm going to be putting out these episodes that are specifically addressing your questions. But before we hop into the first set of questions that you all sent in, I want to invite you all to come join us over on This Is Awkward. It is another podcast that I host where my co-host Allison and I go over your awkward money situations that you send in to us. It's a lot of fun. We tackle your awkward money situations and hopefully help you learn something along the way. So if you want to hear a fun, light money conversation about really awkward things, come join us over on This Is Awkward. You can find it wherever you're listening to Popcorn Finance right now, or just head over to the show notes. There's a link in there for you. All right, let's jump into a couple of your questions. All right, so this one comes from Andrew.Pinter. I think it's Pinter. And he said, what is the rule of thumb for how much is acceptable to take out when it comes to student loans? I've always heard you can take out as much as your first salary will be. And I think I've heard this rule of thumb too. What have you heard about this?
Yeah, so that is my favorite rule of thumb, is never borrow more in total than you expect to earn in your first year after graduation. And so the cool thing is we live in this day and age of like unlimited information, and college isn't just for getting educated. Like, education's free. You can listen to podcasts. You can go on YouTube. You can listen to the smartest people in the world if you want to learn something. You're going to a college because you want to get a job. That is why you're going. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Let's not sugarcoat it. So what job do you want? What do you want to do? Go Google it. Go see what it is. Type it into glassdoor.com and say, like, I want to be a computer science engineer in San Francisco. What's the starting salary? And it's going to spit out a result for you. $64,000. I don't know. I'm totally making this up. But if that's what it says, well, don't borrow more than $64,000 to get your degree. Because if you start borrowing way more than that, guess what? You're going to struggle to pay it back on your starting salary, and you're going to regret it, and you're not going to be able to afford it, or you're not going to be able to afford a lifestyle that you want that goes with it. On the flip side, if you want to be a teacher or something like that, same thing, Google it. It's going to say you're going to make $40,000 in your first year. Well, same rule applies. Don't borrow more than $40,000, because again, on your salary, you need to be able to pay that loan back without like hurting yourself financially. Like, you went to school to get a job, to have a career and be able to live, and you don't want to be struggling with it. The reason we have the student loan debt crisis today in America isn't just because of, outrageous borrowing. It's because people feel like they didn't get any value for the money they spent. And a lot of that goes hand in hand with how much they spent and the wage growth and or salary growth in America. When you put the two and two together, it doesn't work out. And that's why people get frustrated.
This one comes from debtfree_x3. They wrote, how do I make payments that, this is why I had to ask her a little clarification on this one to make sure I got it right. So she said, how do I make payments that will close these smaller loans? And she put a little clarification that, she when she looks in her student loan account, there's all these small loans that make up her overall total balance. And so she wanted to know, how do I make sure that I'm paying off one specific one, that the money's going directly to that loan, and I can close that little small baby loan out and get rid of it and move on to the next one?
It's a great question, because if you want to make any kind of extra payment on your loan, don't just write a bigger check and send it to your loan servicer. It will all just get jacked up and not go where you want it to go, and it doesn't get applied right. If you ever want to make an extra payment on your loan or pay off a loan or close it out, you want to go into your student loan servicer's web portal and you want to click on your loan, and there's usually a button there that says make extra principal payment or make one-time payment or similar. You click that, and then you can choose exactly how you want that payment allocated in the portal. And that's how you make the extra payment. If you don't have access to the web portal, you need to call their representative. You want to say, I want to pay off this loan or make an extra payment specifically for this loan. Tell me what I need to do, and they will give it to you. They'll walk you through step by step. When you do a loan payoff, if you're not doing it in the portal as well, you want to ask for the loan payoff amount, because your loan is growing interest every single day. And so if you're going to cut a check today, it might not post for 5 days. And now your loan has gained another extra $1.50 or something. And then you think you paid off your loan and you still didn't pay off your loan. So what you want to do is you want to ask the representative, what's my loan payoff amount on this date? And you want to make it like a week later than what you actually are going to pay it off. So that way you have a little buffer in there in case it doesn't post in time. And yes, you might overpay your loan by a couple bucks, but they'll refund it to you in a while. But it's nice to just have the loan gone and have it done right instead of having $1 left on a student loan. And I've seen it happen way too many times. So loan payoff amount or make an extra principal payment is what you want to do.
Yeah, because they're not in the business of saying, you know what, don't worry, we'll take care of that last few dollars. They want every penny of that money.
No, I mean, it's gonna rack up another 1 cent in interest, and they want that 1 cent, you know?
I guess 1 cent across the millions of people with student loans works out pretty well.
Don't even go there. We don't want to give these loan companies any more money.
Huge thank you to Robert Farrington for taking even more time here with us on the show to answer your questions that you sent in. If you haven't already, go over to thecollegeinvestor.com to learn even more about student loans, and also say hi to Robert while you're there. Also, thank you to all of you who sent in your questions for today's episode. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you do that. Go into your favorite podcast app, wherever you're listening to this, hit subscribe. That way you can get the rest of the student loan Q&A questions that I'll be putting out over the next couple of weeks. And as always, if you have a question, feel free to contact me. You can send me a DM over on Instagram at Popcorn Finance Podcast, or you can leave me a voicemail at popcornfinance.com/voicemail. Thanks again for joining me here for another bag of popcorn. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, boy, keep it poppin' like Mary Poppins.